They say belief is invisible. They say it's just a thought, a whisper in your mind. But the truth is, belief is the single most powerful force you will ever control. Belief builds empires. Belief moves mountains. Belief turns ordinary people into legends. Every skyscraper that touches the sky began as nothing more than a line in someone's imagination. Every revolution, every invention, every world-changing act began with a human being who decided to believe in something so deeply that the rest of the world eventually had no choice but to catch up. You become what you believe because belief is the blueprint of your life. It shapes how you see the world, how you move through it, and how you rise when the world tries to hold you down. A person with weak belief sees obstacles as walls. A person with strong belief sees those same obstacles as doors waiting to be kicked open. That's the difference between the one who dreams and the one who builds. Think about it. Thomas Edison was not born with electric light in his hands. He was born with a belief burning so bright inside him that no 1,000 failures could extinguish it. Henry Ford wasn't given factories. He was given a vision that the world laughed at, and he believed in it so deeply that laughter eventually turned into applause. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. But he didn't need their approval to believe. He built an empire on a mouse and a dream. These names echo through history because they did the one thing most people never do. They believed bigger than their reality. The world will always mirror your belief. If you believe you are powerless, the world will hand you chains. If you believe you are capable, the world will hand you doors. If you believe you are destined for more, the world will rise to meet you halfway. It doesn't start with luck. It starts with belief. Because belief is the root of every action, and action is the seed of every destiny. Every time you wake up, the story you tell yourself is the reality you live in. Some wake up whispering defeat to themselves before the day even begins. I can't. I'm tired. I'm not enough. And then they live that story like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But others rise with fire in their chest, even when the world tries to drown them. They say, I am capable. I am becoming. I will not stop. And they live that story too. The difference isn't in the opportunities. It's in the belief that shapes what they see and how far they go. When a person believes small, they build a cage around themselves without even knowing it. They shrink their dreams until they fit inside their comfort zone. But when a person believes bigger, they build a bridge between who they are and who they are meant to be. Belief expands your reach. It changes the way your mind operates. It turns doubt into data, fear into fuel, and obstacles into opportunities. Look at the most powerful moments in human history. They were never born in comfort. They were born in fire. Abraham Lincoln believed in unity when the world was tearing itself apart. Andrew Carnegie believed in abundance when poverty ruled his reality. Helen Keller believed in possibility when the world said she was broken. Each of them had every reason to surrender, but belief does not negotiate with circumstances. It commands them. You must understand this. You are not defined by what you have. You are defined by what you believe you can build. Wealth, success, mastery, greatness, they all begin in the same invisible place, the mind. Your belief system is either your greatest weapon or your greatest prison. It can either lift you into greatness or bury you alive in mediocrity. And the cruel truth is, most people live their lives as prisoners of their own small thinking. They worship limitations disguised as logic. They repeat inherited fears disguised as realism. They live inside cages that were never locked, because the bars are made of their own doubts. But the rare few, the ones who shape history, are those who refuse to accept the bars as real. They see fear as a liar. They see doubt as a test. And they walk through those imaginary bars like they were never there. When you begin to believe in yourself with unshakable certainty, the world around you bends. People start to doubt their doubts about you. Obstacles shift. Doors appear where there were only walls. That's not magic. That's the power of belief colliding with reality. Every invention, every triumph, every story that makes your heart beat faster began with someone who looked at a world that said impossible and replied, "Watch me." Belief is not passive. It is not a wish. It is a decision, a declaration, a line carved into the ground saying, "This is who I am, and this is where I'm going." When you believe in yourself, the world has no choice but to respond. You will never rise higher than the image you hold of yourself in your own mind. If you see yourself as small, life will give you small. If you see yourself as worthy, as powerful, as someone with something to offer this world, life will open in ways you cannot yet imagine. This is not fantasy. This is reality shaped by mindset. It's how every empire, every movement, every revolution begins. Not with armies. Not with riches. With a single mind that dares to believe bigger. The universe does not reward hesitation. It rewards conviction. It does not bend for those who say, "I'll try." It bends for those who say, "I will." And it bends even more for those who burn their bridges and declare, "I must." You are not waiting for the world to give you permission. You are waiting to give yourself permission to believe at a level that terrifies your fears. If you want to change your life, change what you believe about yourself. Because what you believe shapes what you see, and what you see shapes what you do. The man who believes he can't will never lift his head high enough to see the opportunity waiting. But the man who believes he can will not just see the door, he'll walk through it before anyone else has even noticed it's there. And belief, real belief, isn't about ignoring reality. It's about seeing beyond it. It's about looking at your current circumstances and knowing they're not the final chapter. It's about understanding that where you are is not where you have to stay. The greatest trap most people fall into is believing that their present is their permanent. But belief breaks that trap. Belief tears down the illusions that keep you small. History does not remember the comfortable. It remembers the relentless. It remembers those who believed when logic said they shouldn't. It remembers those who stood alone when no one else would. It remembers those who spoke their future into existence through the fire of their belief. Your name can be on that list, not because of luck, not because of privilege, but because belief is available to every human being on this planet. If belief can raise nations, if it can build empires, if it can turn the impossible into stone and steel and dreams that fly, what could it do for you? Imagine what your life would look like if you stopped shrinking your belief to match your fears and started expanding your belief to match your potential. This is where everything changes. The world will always test the strength of your belief. It will not ask politely. It will throw storms at you. It will try to bury your vision under the weight of doubt, fear, and mediocrity. That's not because life is cruel. It's because greatness is not handed to the uncertain. It is earned by those who have the courage to keep believing when the night gets darkest. When the crowd disappears. When the world calls them foolish. When the mirror reflects nothing but exhaustion. It is in those moments that belief becomes either a flame or a wildfire. The difference between those who rise and those who remain is not talent. It is not luck. It is not some secret that only the chosen few have. It is belief held long enough, fiercely enough, when everyone else lets go. The world is littered with abandoned dreams, not because those dreams were impossible, but because someone stopped believing too soon. Look at Thomas Edison in the dark room of his lab, failing 1,000 times to bring light to the world. Look at Henry Ford laughed at for imagining cars when horses were the way of the world. Look at Abraham Lincoln crushed by defeat after defeat before he became a symbol of endurance. These were not people born with more than you. They were people who believed longer than most would ever dare. When the storm comes, weak belief whispers, "Maybe I was wrong." Strong belief roars, "Try me." Strong belief is forged in struggle. It is not built in quiet rooms with soft hands. It's built in the arena, in failure, in doubt, in nights where the world seems blind to your vision. If your dream is to build something that changes your life and the lives of others, your belief must be strong enough to hold steady when everything else shakes. Every person who has ever climbed from nothing to something monumental has walked through a season of silence. A season where no one claps. No one believes. No one sees the vision except them. That's when most people quit. But the great ones, they keep walking. They keep building in the dark because their belief is louder than the silence around them. They understand that applause is never the starting point. It is the echo of conviction. Belief is not a feeling that comes and goes with the weather. It is a decision. It's a line drawn deep into the ground saying, "I will not move." It's the moment you stop waiting for the world to agree with you and start living as if your vision is already carved into reality. Because that's what all visionaries do. They build the future in their mind first and then bend the world to catch up. When your belief becomes that powerful, discipline follows. Discipline is belief in motion. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you know you can become. It is what transforms wanting into becoming. The dreamers wish. The believers act. and the disciplined build. You must stop waiting for the perfect moment and understand the truth. Belief is the seed, but action is the water that makes it grow. The man who believes he can rise early, train his mind, build his craft, and stay relentless will become unstoppable. Not because he's superhuman, but because he moves when others wait. He acts when others doubt. He builds while others scroll. Discipline is the quiet force that multiplies your belief into results the world can no longer ignore. This is why belief without action dies as fantasy, and action without belief dies from lack of fire. But belief and action together, that is a storm the world cannot contain. Every brick of success is laid with your hands, guided by your belief. You cannot fake that. You cannot borrow it. You must own it. When Walt Disney drew a mouse on paper, he was not building a cartoon. He was building an empire long before anyone else saw it. When Andrew Carnegie picked up his first job as a telegrapher, he wasn't just earning wages, he was sharpening the vision that would make him one of the wealthiest men in history. When Henry Ford sketched the Model T, he wasn't just building a car, he was reshaping how the world moved. And when Napoleon Hill wrote about a burning desire, he wasn't writing a book, he was writing a blueprint for human greatness. Their belief didn't need the world to say yes. It only needed them to say yes and act like it was already done. That's what belief looks like when it's alive. That's what belief feels like when it's real. You may not be standing on a world stage. You may not have millions watching you. But that doesn't matter. Greatness doesn't start in the spotlight. It starts in silence, when no one's watching. When it's just you and the fire in your chest. When the only voice you hear is the one that says, keep going. And this is where most people break. They wait for external validation to fuel their belief. They wait for someone to say you can do it before they decide to act like they can. But those who build real power learn a secret. You must believe before anyone else does. You must clap for yourself in the dark. You must trust your vision so fiercely that the absence of approval doesn't make you flinch. Because here's the truth, belief is contagious, but only after it's proven. People will not believe in your vision at the beginning. They will doubt you, mock you, question you. They will say you're unrealistic, too ambitious, too stubborn. And then, when the world you imagine starts taking shape, they'll call it obvious. Don't wait for that moment. You are not building to impress them. You are building to fulfill your purpose. A tree does not grow because the forest approves. It grows because its roots dig deep into the ground and refuse to let go. That's how belief works. It digs in. It holds when the wind howls. It grows stronger as storms try to break it. The world may not see it in the beginning, but the world will feel it when it breaks through the soil. Your belief must be like that, quiet, deep, unshakable. When others question you, let your roots go deeper. When the storm hits, let your branches bend but not break. When doubt screams in your head, answer with action. You are not here to explain your belief. You are here to live it. The most dangerous thing in this world is not a person with power, money, or fame. It is a person with unbreakable belief. Because they will not stop. They will not beg. They will not wait. They will keep moving forward long after everyone else has sat down. And the world will eventually bend to their will because the world has no choice. History is proof of that. This is your time to stop waiting for permission. Stop asking for validation. Stop shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's small imagination. You must decide, right here and now, to believe bigger. To believe with the kind of intensity that turns the impossible into your next step. To believe so deeply that your actions make people question their own limits. Every great story begins with that decision. Every legacy is written by someone who chose belief over fear, clarity over confusion, and discipline over excuses. You are no different. The question is not whether you can do it. The question is whether you will believe it long enough to make it real. Vision is the language of belief. It's the lens through which your soul sees the world before the world sees it. Every person who has ever built something extraordinary didn't just act, they saw first. They built it in their mind when no blueprint existed. They walked through the halls of the empire they hadn't built yet. They felt the weight of the gold they hadn't earned yet. They lived their vision before the world could touch it. That is what makes a person unstoppable. The ordinary mind waits to see results before it believes. The extraordinary mind believes so strongly that it creates the results. That's why clarity is not a luxury, it's a weapon. When your vision is clear, your belief has direction. A man without a clear vision is like a ship without a compass. He may move, but he will drift with every wind. But the man with vision moves like a storm, steady, deliberate, unstoppable. Look at Henry Ford staring at an empty field, already seeing factories rising. Look at Walt Disney walking on barren land, already hearing the laughter of millions of children. Look at Thomas Edison staring into darkness, already seeing light flooding the world. These people didn't wait to believe after they saw because they believed. Your vision must be so clear that the world's noise can't blur it. You must train your mind to hold that image in the darkest nights. Because vision is the anchor when the winds of doubt blow hardest. You will face moments when nothing around you reflects what you see inside you. The world will call you crazy, naive, too ambitious. Let them. Every revolutionary idea was once labeled impossible. Clarity doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment. It comes from deciding what you want your life to become. Not what the world says is realistic. Not what others say is safe. What you want. You must stop living like a passenger and start steering your ship. Most people live in fog. They chase distractions, drown in other people's expectations, and call it life. But the ones who build legacies, they step out of the fog. They define their destination with such precision that nothing can make them lose their way. Your vision must live in your mind with more intensity than your fears. It must speak louder than the world's doubt. When your vision is strong enough, it becomes a magnet. It pulls the right opportunities, the right people, and the right moments toward you. Not because the universe is playing favorites, but because clarity has power. When you move with certainty, the world takes notice. But a clear vision without purpose is like fire without oxygen. Purpose is what gives vision its soul. It's the reason why you wake up when others are still sleeping. It's what makes you walk through storms that would break the average person. Purpose turns goals into missions, and missions don't end when things get hard. Missions keep burning when motivation fades. Every great builder, every visionary, every giant of history was fueled by a purpose bigger than themselves. Abraham Lincoln didn't endure political defeat after defeat just to win an office. His purpose was freedom. Nelson Mandela didn't spend 27 years in a cell because it was easy. His purpose was justice. Napoleon Hill didn't write about success to become famous. His purpose was to awaken the power of the human mind. Purpose makes belief unbreakable because it gives it a reason to survive. If you want to create a life that shakes the ground beneath your feet, you must find a reason so powerful it refuses to let you quit. You must find a why that burns brighter than your excuses. That is why purpose is not found in comfort, it's forged in fire. It's born in the moment when you realize that staying the same costs more than risking everything to become more. And here's the truth most people run from. When you find your purpose, it will demand everything from you. It will not politely ask for your time, your energy, your focus. It will consume you. But that is where your power lives. Because when you give yourself fully to a purpose, you stop playing small games. You stop fighting meaningless battles. You stop living for applause. And you start building something eternal. Purpose turns fear into fuel. It turns setbacks into strategy. It turns failure into foundation. When your purpose is strong, rejection can't break you. Setbacks can't bury you. The world's laughter can't silence you. Because purpose whispers, keep going. But believing in a vision and living with purpose also requires something the weak avoid: discipline. Discipline is the quiet, unglamorous power that separates dreamers from doers. It's the muscle that moves belief from imagination to reality. People love to talk about dreams, but only the disciplined build them. The world applauds results, but discipline happens in silence, in early mornings, late nights, lonely hours, uncomfortable choices. You can have the biggest vision in the world, but without discipline, it will die in the desert of someday. Discipline is the proof that your belief is real. It's easy to say, I believe, when everything feels right. But true belief is measured at 5 a.m. when your alarm rings and your excuses whisper louder than your goals. It's measured when everyone else is resting and you're still sharpening your craft. It's measured when you walk alone, not because the road is easy, but because your purpose doesn't give you a choice. Discipline is not punishment. It's the highest form of self-respect. It's saying, I believe in my future enough to work for it even when I don't feel like it. Every legend carried this trait. Edison's thousands of failures were acts of discipline. Ford's endless fights against doubt were acts of discipline. Carnegie's years of building from nothing were acts of discipline. Discipline is the heartbeat of greatness. And when discipline meets vision, something powerful happens: momentum. Momentum is invisible to the outside world in the beginning. No one sees the early mornings, the small wins, the quiet progress. But once it builds, it becomes a storm. Momentum carries you through moments where motivation would have abandoned you. Momentum doesn't ask you to feel ready. It drags you forward. Most people never build momentum because they keep starting over. They treat belief like a light switch, on when things feel good, off when life gets hard. But those who understand this game keep the flame burning, no matter the weather. They know that momentum doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to keep moving, one disciplined step at a time. And the truth is, discipline does not require strength at the start. It requires commitment. Strength is what it gives you in return. Every single day you show up when you don't feel like it, your belief grows teeth. It becomes less of a whisper and more of a roar. It stops being an idea and starts becoming who you are. Your future self is not built on grand speeches or beautiful dreams. It is built on the small, quiet choices you make every single day when no one is watching. That is where real power is born, in the stillness, in the silence, in the daily grind. When belief is strong, vision is clear, purpose burns deep, and discipline is relentless, the world bends. Not instantly, not easily, but inevitably. That is how empires are built. That is how ordinary people carve their names into the stones of history. When the world finally pushes back, when the winds of resistance start howling against your vision, this is the moment when most people fold. Not because their dreams weren't worthy. Not because the path wasn't possible. But because their belief was shallow, built on sunny days and soft soil. Real belief, the kind that moves mountains, must be rooted deep. And those roots grow strongest in storms. Every storm you face is not a sign that you're failing. It's a test. It's life's way of asking, do you really believe what you say you believe? Anyone can have conviction when everything is easy. But when the world shakes, when the ground beneath your feet turns to fire, only those with real belief remain standing. That's when resilience is born. Not in the light, but in the dark. Not in comfort, but in chaos. Look at the giants who walked before you. Abraham Lincoln faced defeat after defeat before he became the face of endurance. Walt Disney was rejected by bankers over 300 times before someone believed in his dream. Henry Ford went bankrupt multiple times before his empire stood on steel. Thomas Edison faced thousands of failures before the world saw light. Their stories are not about luck. They are stories of belief that did not break when everything else did. Resilience is the armor that protects your belief. It is the inner steel that whispers, "Not yet defeated." It is not about being fearless. It is about walking forward even with fear screaming in your ear. It is about refusing to let failure be the period at the end of your story. Resilience is born when you stop asking, "Why me?" and start declaring, "Try me." Every champion has walked through fire. Every visionary has faced nights where the dream felt impossible. Every legend has known the taste of defeat. What separates them from the forgotten is that they kept going anyway. They didn't allow pain to become a wall. They made it a staircase. They didn't run from the storm. They became the storm. The world will try to bend you. Life will not apologize for the weight it throws at you. But belief, when forged through resilience, doesn't just survive pressure, it becomes diamond. Your mind becomes sharper. Your vision becomes clearer. Your will becomes louder than your fear. You become a force that doesn't crumble. You become someone the world can no longer ignore. Adaptability becomes your weapon in this battle. Belief is not about clinging to one rigid path. It's about refusing to give up on the destination, no matter how many paths break beneath your feet. The greatest mistake most people make is believing that one failure means it wasn't meant to be. No. It means you must learn. Adapt. Shift. Grow. That's how greatness is built, not in straight lines but through a relentless willingness to evolve. Think of Thomas Edison. Every failure taught him what wouldn't work, bringing him closer to what would. Henry Ford revolutionized not just a machine but the system behind it. Napoleon Hill turned rejection into philosophy. The greats never saw setbacks as endings. They saw them as instructions. Adaptability is not weakness. It is intelligence. It is strength that flows. It's the ability to hold your belief like iron but shape your strategy like water. The river does not stop when it meets a rock. It bends. It finds another way. And over time, it carves through the stone itself. That is what your belief must do. Not shatter against obstacles. Carve through them. This is why learning is not optional on the path of greatness. You cannot grow if your mind is locked in yesterday's ideas. You cannot build an empire with the same thinking that built your cage. The most powerful believers are not those who think they know everything. They are those who keep their minds open, curious, hungry to sharpen their tools. Every failure has a lesson hidden inside it, like a gold vein buried under stone. Most people never find it because they stop digging after the first strike. But those who rise keep digging. They take every punch life throws at them and ask, "What is this teaching me? How can this make me stronger?" That is the mind of a champion. That is the thinking of the unbreakable. Resilience without learning hardens you. Learning without resilience weakens you. But when the two work together, they forge something unstoppable, a mind that can bend without breaking, a soul that can bleed and still walk forward. That is how legends are made. Remember, belief is not meant to make the path easy. It is meant to make you strong enough to walk through the path, no matter how brutal it becomes. There will be moments where you will lose people. You will lose opportunities. You will face betrayals, rejections, failures that sting like fire. And in those moments, the average person sees the end. But the one who truly believes sees the beginning of something sharper. When you understand that everything is working for you, even the storms, your belief becomes untouchable. The betrayal made you stronger. The rejection sharpened your aim. The failure gave you direction. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Every event, every moment, every trial is carving you into the version of yourself that can carry the weight of your destiny. The people you admire, the innovators, the leaders, the visionaries, they were not spared from suffering. In fact, their greatest chapters were born in suffering. They didn't run from pain. They used it. They turned pain into power, fear into fire, and doubt into fuel. They understood a truth most will never grasp, that the world is not broken, it's simply shaping them for something greater. This is why you must stop fearing struggle and start respecting it. Struggle is not your enemy. It is your trainer. Every challenge is a weight meant to build your strength. Every dark season is a forge meant to purify your belief. Every setback is a mirror, showing you where your fire truly lives. If you want to believe bigger, then you must also learn to endure bigger. To trust the process when it's loud and when it's silent. To walk through fire without letting it turn you to ash. Because the truth is, the fire doesn't destroy the unbreakable. It reveals it. And the day will come when the storm ends, and the world will see what the storm tried to bury. It will see you standing there, not untouched, but undefeated. Scarred, maybe. Hardened. Definitely. But alive. Burning with the kind of belief that cannot be taught, only forged. And when that day comes, the world will call you lucky. They'll call you gifted. They'll say you were born different. Let them say it. Because they'll never understand what it took to believe when no one else did. They'll never understand what it means to keep walking in darkness with nothing but a fire in your chest. There comes a moment on every great journey when the storm begins to quiet. Not because the world suddenly becomes easy, but because you have changed. Your belief, once fragile, now stands like steel. Your mind, once searching for permission, now moves with command. That moment is not the end of your path. It is the point where your fire becomes calm, steady, and unshakable. And in that calm, something extraordinary awakens: gratitude. Gratitude is not weakness. It is not soft. It is power. It's the ability to look at the battlefield of your past, the scars, the bruises, the broken nights, and say, thank you. Because every step that once burned is the very step that made you unbreakable. Gratitude transforms pain into wisdom. It turns struggle into strength. It turns doubt into perspective. When you learn to be grateful even for the pain, your belief rises to a new level. It's no longer desperate. It's no longer fearful. It becomes steady, like a mountain unmoved by storms. Gratitude gives you clarity because it forces you to see that nothing was wasted. Every sleepless night had a purpose. Every failure was a brick in the foundation. Every detour was a hidden lesson guiding you home. The greats understood this. Napoleon Hill lost everything before writing his most powerful work. Thomas Edison thanked every failure for bringing him closer to the light. Abraham Lincoln saw every defeat as a step toward a higher purpose. Gratitude didn't make them blind to pain. It made them powerful enough to use it. When gratitude enters the mind, fear loses its grip. You begin to see your life as something unfolding for you, not against you. And when you live in that state, momentum accelerates. Gratitude doesn't slow you down, it clears the fog from your path. It gives your actions meaning. It turns small victories into fuel and losses into lessons. Momentum is a silent beast. It's the power that makes everything compound. One small disciplined step after another. One clear decision layered on top of yesterday's. People will look at the mountain you've built and call it overnight success. But you'll know the truth. You didn't move a mountain in one day. You moved one stone 1,000 days in a row. And that's why your belief is stronger than theirs. Momentum doesn't require massive leaps every day. It requires consistency. Consistency builds trust in yourself. And trust in yourself is the highest form of belief. When you trust yourself, you don't need motivation to move. You don't need applause to act. You move because movement has become who you are. You act because belief has become your identity. This is the secret that separates the many from the few. Most people try to have belief. But the truly unstoppable don't just have belief, they become it. It's no longer something they put on in the morning and take off at night. It's stitched into their bones. It's written into their breath. It's the silent fire in their eyes when the world doubts them. Identity is the ultimate expression of belief. When you identify as someone powerful, disciplined, purposeful, resilient, your actions naturally align with that image. You no longer have to force yourself to behave like a winner. You are one. Your mind no longer negotiates with excuses because they don't fit the story you tell yourself anymore. The person who believes, "I am a creator," creates. The person who believes, "I am strong," endures. The person who believes, "I am disciplined," acts even when they don't feel like it. That's why changing your life doesn't start with the world. It starts with how you see yourself. You cannot rise higher than your identity. You cannot outrun the story you whisper to yourself in silence. The most dangerous prison in the world is not built from stone. It's built from the small beliefs a person accepts about themselves. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm too late. I'm too broken. These aren't truths. They're chains. But the moment you change your identity, those chains melt like smoke. This is why powerful belief isn't something that sits outside you, it is you. You must speak it, breathe it, build it, live it. You must rewrite the story in your head so loud that the whispers of doubt disappear. You must look at the mirror every morning and remind yourself, not of what the world has told you, but of who you've decided to become. You must say it until your bones believe it. You must act like it until the world reflects it. You must walk in it until there is no line between who you are and who you're becoming. This is where belief becomes destiny. Not because destiny is fixed, but because you are writing it. Every action you take while standing in the identity of your highest self reshapes the path ahead of you. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. You stop asking, "What will happen?" and start declaring, "This is what will happen because I said so." The world bends to those who walk in full alignment with what they believe. That's why some people seem untouchable. It's not because they're superhuman. It's because their belief is so deeply anchored in their identity that they move without hesitation, without apology, without fear. They have burned every bridge to their smaller self, and now the only way forward is up. And once you reach this point, your belief stops serving only you. It begins to lift others. It starts to inspire people who have forgotten what belief feels like. It starts to ignite something in those who have been asleep. Because real belief is contagious. It doesn't need to shout to be felt. It moves through your presence, your actions, your fire. People follow clarity. They are drawn to conviction. They rise in the presence of someone who believes fiercely. And when your belief becomes that bright, you stop living for survival and start leading. You stop walking alone and start pulling others with you. That is the true legacy of belief. It's not just what it builds for you, it's what it awakens in the world around you. The greatest leaders in history understood this. Abraham Lincoln carried belief in justice that outlived his body. Napoleon Hill lit fires in millions of minds he never met. Walt Disney built worlds from a single spark of imagination. That is the power of someone who lives their belief. And make no mistake, you have that power. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. It has always lived inside you. It's been waiting behind every excuse, buried under every doubt, suffocated by every fear. But the moment you decide to believe bigger, really believe, the world you've been waiting for begins to unfold.